So the person you have to convince is yourself. When it comes to this manifesting stuff, this law of assumption stuff, this law of attraction stuff, this blah, 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 daction stuff, there's so much confusion in this space, this community, especially on a place like YouTube, as we've been discussing a lot lately, and as we always discuss. So much stuff that makes it seem like manifesting is some smoke and mirrors routine, and, that getting more of what you want in your life is some, magical thing that you somehow pull out of your butt. And in my experiences and just, working with people and looking at the great teachers the last 100 years or so, it's not like that in reality. And the process is often much more mundane while we're doing it, and much more active, like we're actively involved in it, than just something where we're just kind of like laying back and just, it's going to come to us, da-da-da-da-da. It's not like that usually. In my opinion, this is practical stuff. If you want to discuss deep spirituality with me, I'm not going to be talking to you about like manifesting ideas and these manifesting teachers, because it's not deeply spiritual. It's usually practically, how can I convince myself that I am going to have something? How can I believe that it's going to happen? If I convince myself that I'm going to obtain a certain thing, to paraphrase Émile Coué, I'm going to get that thing. The ways and means are going to be revealed to me for it to come to me. It's convincing myself that it's possible. That's the difficult part for me and for most people, most of the time. That's what so much of this boils down to. That's why yesterday I read some Emmett Fox, because he's one of the few prominent manifesting teachers who's still relatively popular today, who said, listen, this stuff isn't easy. You're gonna think this is simple, and then you go out into the world and a bunch of shit hits you. And that's why he recommended very drastic things like 7-day mental diets, so that you really became aware of how much shit you reacted to, and so you didn't react to it in the same way. You made yourself not react to it. Forcing yourself to not react to things will change your life, right? But it can be, things like a 7-day mental diet can be not only very difficult, but also very tiring and emasculating. I actually touched upon that. I'll try to find the video and link to it above. The last 7-day mental diet I did, I've done several before. The last 7-day mental diet I did, I was like, man, I'm never doing this again. This is too emasculating. This is too stifling. But it is an effective tool if you want to see these principles in action in your life, in getting your reactions to change over a short period of time. It's a good way to do it. Another good way to do it, as I mentioned the other day, is to simply repeat something to yourself over and over again. This is why Émile Coué said, you keep on suggesting something to yourself and you're going to start to believe it. And that's why, prominent teachers today on YouTube, most specifically Sammy Ingram, the only thing she really talks about, she says a bunch of other stuff, but the thing of value that she talks about is just that if you keep on repeating something to yourself over and over again, you're going to start to believe it. And honestly, I really can't think of a more, I almost want to say, foolproof way when you feel like crap and don't believe that you can get what you want, to start shifting that so you believe that you can, than just repeating something over and over again. That's why I talk about Sammy Ingram a lot on this channel. It's not that I like her, or like the cult of personality around her and the toxic community that has swelled up about, her stuff and similar teachings. I think that's fucking toxic. But what she's saying is true. And the reason what she's saying is true is because it's the same thing that Émile Coué, like 100 years ago, said, and said much more articulately than any of the people today talking about suggestibility. Today, we're going to read from Simple Self-Healing, which is a book I edited of Coué's teachings, as well as some of the essays that Cyrus Harry Brooks wrote about Coué. It's a very good book. If you have not read this book or listened to the audiobook version, I'll put the link below. You should check it out. But, we hear so much about imagination, right? We hear even about belief, and these things, these terms, they can throw us off. Like the law of assumption, right? That can seem vague. Even the law of belief, like what is a belief? That can seem vague. A lot of it really, you could say it's really the law of suggestibility. It's what we're suggesting to ourselves. Suggestibility. It's another way to look at it. Again, using all these terms like laws, it's just a way to throw us off. It just makes people feel more confident because it's a law. It's all bullshit. There's no fucking laws when it comes to this stuff. It's just using good common sense and recognizing that the imagination is much, much stronger than we usually expect it to be. It has much more of an influence on your life than you would expect it to have. Getting into these manifesting teachings is about recognizing that your mind, your imagination is much, much more powerful than culture gives it credit for. And then taking practical advantage of that to improve your life and improve the lives of others by advantageously using your imagination for positive ends. And Coué explains this in a much more practical, rational, non-religious, non-spiritual sounding way than anybody else. Which is why, again, he's really worth checking out instead of people who are just dither-dathering on YouTube talking nonsense about these somewhat grounded psychological concepts that deal with your imagination. I'm just going to read a short chapter from Simple Self-Healing. Here's the quote from Coué that starts the chapter. Coué said, "It is not in me, but in yourself that you must have confidence. For it's in you alone that dwells the force which can cure you. My part simply consists in teaching you to make use of that force." He's, of course, referring to your imagination. Okay? But he's not referring to it in this esoteric way like people like Neville and Murphy sometimes refer to it, but in a much more practical, psychological way. This chapter is called "The Limitations of Autosuggestion Are Unknown." And Coué wrote, "I'm often asked, what are the limitations of autosuggestion? I reply, I really don't know. The cures I've seen have sometimes appeared so amazing, so incredible, that I decline theoretically to place any limit at all. Although, of course, I insist, nothing must be expected from autosuggestion which is obviously outside the domain of material possibilities. For instance, it would be absurd to ask for the growth of a new arm or a new leg, despite the fact that the lobster seems to know how to grow a new claw when it's necessary. There are people who, by long practice and concentration, have acquired an amazing power over their bodily functions. Cases are known to the medical faculty in Paris of men able to increase the speed of their heartbeats from 90 to 120, or diminish it to such a degree that the heart seems almost to stop. In another chapter, I'll talk of the diseases actually cured by autosuggestion in its general sphere of curative possibilities. But let it be thoroughly realized that thought, or suggestion, is able to mold the human body as a sculptor chisels his clay. Thought is an act. It's more than Bernheim believes when he wrote suggestion is an idea which can be transformed into action. It's certain that cases declared to be incurable have been cured by autosuggestion. And not only diseases of a functional nature, sores and wounds of long standing, which had resisted all other treatments, have been healed rapidly by suggestion. Was it not Dr. Carnot who said, "The wounds of victorious soldiers heal more rapidly than those of the vanquished"? I can declare without hesitation that whatever the illness, the practice of rational autosuggestion will always affect an appreciable improvement in the patient's condition, even if the disease itself is incurable. That's an incredibly powerful passage, and that's Coué. That's Coué saying that your imagination is this incredible tool that can heal you and solve problems for you and help you reach seemingly impossible goals. It can do all these things for you, but we must learn how to harness it. He liked to say that a wild horse, if you don't know how to ride it, it can trample you, but if you can domesticate that wild horse, you can ride it, and it can be used to great advantage. You have to figure out how to believe in yourself, to believe that you can achieve what you want. That's what we're doing. That is the practice. That is the practical process that we are going through when we are practicing these manifesting tools, law of assumption tools, law of attraction tools, whatever you want to call it. All right? This should be very clear. If it's not, check out Simple Self-Healing. Check out Émile Coué. Watch other videos on this channel. Listen to my podcast. Look at this stuff with rational common sense, and at the same time understand that there's so much more to your imagination than is generally recognized. If you do that, your life is going to improve. If you have questions or want coaching, you know where to find me. RadicalCounselor.com. Until next time.